What's up, strongest men, women, and children from blocks all around the world? I am my block's strongest man, and we're here tonight on day one of World's Strongest Man 2021 Finals, Saturday, June 19th, 2021. Isn't it crazy how I had to look down at my calendar to get the date for today? Costin, did you catch that, buddy? Oh, man. So what a day. We've had 3 events in the finals today. And while we wait for everybody else to jump on, why don't we go ahead and let you know who this stream is being sponsored by. So we're being brought to you tonight by our friends at Garage Gym Life Media. And I'm going to play you a short 1-minute clip where John Greaves III from Garage Gym Life Media tells you all about why they stream strength sports and the importance of people that work out at home and how far they can get in the world, like Stan Carradine, who actually went to World's Strongest Man. Check it out.
Training in a home gym, especially if you're training by yourself, can be tough because sometimes you just don't have the motivation to go in your garage or your basement and get it done. And that's why we stream competitions every month on the Garage Gym Life Media YouTube channel. I'm John Greaves III, founder of Garage Gym Life Media, and after 20 years of training in a home gym, I can tell you that there's some days when I just don't feel like training. And those are the days when I put on some sort of training video or other strength-related content to give me the extra motivation I need to get in there and get it done. There is nothing more motivating than seeing people achieving their goals at a powerlifting meet or a strongman competition. And that's why month after month, we provide that content to you right there in the comfort of your own home on our YouTube channel. Plus, we leave it up forever so you can always just throw it on in the background anytime you need that extra dose of motivation to get you going. And that's why if you're not already a subscriber to Garage Gym Life Media, I invite you to take advantage of this opportunity to add this powerful training tool into your arsenal, because I want you to succeed right there in the best gym in town.
So thanks for checking out that clip from our sponsor for this evening, Garage Gym Life Media. Head on over to subscribe to their channel. I will put the link to that in the description when we're all done today. But let's take a look at what folks in the comments are thinking. So, Constantine Sutton, what's good, baby? Let's go. Yeah, let's go indeed. Some great action today and some great action to come tomorrow on Father's Day. So you may not see me tomorrow night, depending on when I get home from my Father's Day festivities. It may be on Monday, but we'll definitely get you results for that. So Patrick says, Tom is killing it. Hope Ryan can catch back up. You know, I have a friend who he has this saying. It kind of didn't make sense to me at first, but he said, hope is the last thing that we lose. And I always found that funny. But frankly speaking, with the events that are left, Tom Stoltman's going to have to forget how to deadlift and log press for Brian to be able to catch him at this point. And it's nothing against Brian Shaw. He's performing really well. Tom just, when you win the first 2 events and the events on the horizon for you are good for you, like they're not events that you do poorly at, it's very, very difficult for anyone to catch back up. Plus, you know, let me go ahead and share the results that we have for today, and you'll see Tom tied for second on the keg, which I knew he would. I didn't know Maxime would tie him, though, so a big up to Maxime Boudreau, who actually has been on this channel before. If you haven't checked out that interview, you should check it out. But let's go ahead and share the results so we can have a look. And another big, big thank you. I can't thank enough Eloi Fournier for getting together these results for us. And so now you should be able to see on the screen the results for today's finals, which is the first 3 events. The next 3 will be tomorrow on Sunday, Father's Day. So I came on here right after the Giants medley this morning and talked a bit about that, but we can go through it real quick again. So as mentioned, Tom Stoltman won the Giants medley and Titans turntable. Let's see, 9 points went to Constantine Janasha on the Giants medley, and then 8 points to Brian Shaw. So Brian did really well, but when the guy you're in contention with for first place does better than you and wins the event, it just makes it really, really hard. And so going down the list, we had 7 points going to Luke Stoltman, who continues to perform very, very well at this year's World's Strongest Man. I'm very happy to see that because I do root pretty hard for Luke. I love watching him, as I mentioned before. JF with 6 points on the Giants medley. And I've heard that JF is injured. I think it's a hamstring, if I remember correctly. I'll have to check my notes, but I think it's a hamstring. He is unfortunately injured, which may be why he didn't do very well at all on Titans turntable. So Adam Bishop gets 5 points on the Giants medley. 4 points go to Bobby Thompson. 3 points go to Maxime Boudreau. 2 points go to Trey Mitchell. Again, you know, it's a frame and Trey not known for having a great grip. They did change the frame up, as we talked about last night together. So they had the barrels on them this time around, but 2 points for Trey there. And 1 to Athor Ingolfsson Melstead, who was the only one not to finish that Giants medley. So moving on to the Titans turntable, again, as I mentioned, Tom Stoltman wins 2 events in a row, Giants medley and Titans turntable, making it almost impossible for anybody to catch him. And so 9 points go to Trey Mitchell. So Trey, who struggled on the Giants medley, did exceptionally well on Titans turntable. And same thing for Athor, 1 point on Giants medley, but then 8 points on Titans turntable. So really made a big resurgence there. 7 points went to Maxime Boudreau, who again did really, really well. 6 points to Luke Stoltman there, who has been just really consistent. And, he's got a max log lift in his future. So Luke could make the podium, which would be crazy to have brothers on the podium. So 5 points went to Brian Shaw there on Titans turntable, and that's where he really gave up ground. So he already had a great performance on the Giants medley, and then but was beaten out by Tom by 2 points. But then Titans turntable, Tom won it, and Brian was just too far away to kind of to make up that space, right? And then keg toss, you had Brian winning it, as I thought he would. Tom coming in second, as I thought he would. But again, splitting it with Maxime Boudreau. So Max really comes right in there to really boost himself there into third place. So Maxime with 18.5 points is now on the podium if he is able to maintain that positioning. And so Brian wins it. The second kind of highest height, which was 7.5 meters, was split between Tom Stoltman and Maxime Boudreau. 7 points went to Constantine Janasha for 7.26 meters. And I actually I was chatting with Laz earlier, and I made a joke. I said, you're going to be able to get these results out faster than me because you can do the math on the meters better than I can. And then a whole bunch of guys tied for 4th place. So Luke Stoltman, JF Karon, Adam Bishop, Athor Melstead, and Bobby Thompson, all at 6 3/4 meters. And then it looks like Trey Mitchell had 6 meters on the keg toss. That's a shocker for me. Of all these results, that's the shocker for me. Trey Mitchell did exceptionally well at Texas Strongest Man for keg toss. And it's funny because Laz and I were talking about this last week, and he said, well, that's Texas Strongest Man. And I guess he's some sort of fortune teller because it didn't translate over. For Texas Strongest Man, Trey was throwing them off the TV screen. Like you couldn't even see where these things were going. Perhaps that height just wasn't in the same league with these heights that were being put up. So that's kind of how everything laid out. And again, that puts Tom Stoltman firmly in the lead by quite a lot of points. 5.5 points is a big lead. And Brian Shaw in second place, Maxime Boudreau in third, Constantine Janasha only 0.5 point behind in fourth. So, maybe able to make a move there. And Tom Stoltman in striking distance in fifth with 17 points. Then there's a bit of a drop off to JF Karon and Adam Bishop, who have 13 points apiece. Sorry, Athor does as well, 13 points apiece. Trey Mitchell with 12, and Bobby Thompson, who is struggling a bit with 9. But Bobby has a max log lift and a deadlift in his future tomorrow. Should be able to make up some good points there. Will it be enough to, to boost him into a decent positioning? We'll see. So that's how everything lays out today, and how all of the events went, and where everybody is placed now. So let's go back over to the comments and see what folks are thinking about all of this. So are we going to address how easy the first 2 events favoring faster athletes over statically strong? We can. I wasn't thinking of it, but sure. I'm always happy to address good ideas from the audience. So I don't know. Do you think that frame doesn't favor strong athletes? I don't know. Let me know what folks in the audience think about that. I wouldn't say a frame that heavy favors faster over stronger. I think it's a balance, but it's just one man's opinion. Christus is back this evening. So how crazy was day one? It was crazy, but the whole competition's been crazy, has it not? We get on every evening and talk about an injury or Novikov not making it through, or something insane that's gone on, or people being sick or what have you. So crazy every night. Let's see. Juan, Brian's world record was amazing. So Juan, were you there in person? I didn't know it was a world record. Wow, that's awesome. Thank you for letting us know. So Brian did 7.75 meters. So that is, I guess you're saying, indeed a new world record. Wasn't aware of that. Thank you so much for coming on and letting us all know. That's crazy. I can't wait to see it next month. And again, so sorry for the UK having to wait till Christmas. And I mean that sincerely. I'm not making a joke. I, being in the US, will be able to see this in July. And I really feel like the UK and everybody else should too. Like, it's just ridiculous. Let's see. Ken back again this evening. What's up, Ken? B is going to come back. Big day tomorrow. Light deadlift for him. His conditioning is on point. Okay. All right. No, it's good to have faith. I'm sure he does. Like, he ain't giving up. So why should any fans, right? For sure. Yeah. I just feel like there aren't events left that Brian can do enough better than Tom to surpass him. And I might be like you're saying, maybe the deadlift is one of those. The Atlas Stones, Brian and Tom are right there. And if anything, Tom is a little better on Atlas Stones at this point in both their careers. The log lift, I don't know. I've heard different things from different people, but folks tend to think that Tom's log lift is pretty big right now. So we'll see. I feel like the way the math works out, because of how close they are in the Atlas Stones, Tom's going to have to like really not do well on the log lift or the deadlift for Brian to catch up. But who knows? I'd love to see him win 5. I would, because I don't have to make the point anymore that Brian's better than Marius despite him having 1 less title. If he had 5, that argument would be different and easier to make. Nicholas Castelli says, having such close times just proves the events were too light. Fair enough. On the Giants medley, I think it proves that they should have automated timers and not stopwatches. That's what I think. But totally legitimate opinion, Nicholas. Nicholas, is that an Italian last name or Spanish? So if it were Spanish, I would have to say Castelli. But if it's Italian, I would have to say Castelli. So I want to say it correctly. Ken says, great to see Maxime in third. Yeah, like I've been saying on some of the other streams, there is who does the math tell me is going to win, and then who am I rooting for? So I wanted JF to win this whole thing, and probably Max to come in second, I would say. I really enjoy them, and probably Luke to come in third. Those are the guys I really enjoy watching quite a bit. And really saddened to hear about JF's injury. I hope it doesn't hinder him too much, but it seems like maybe it is already on Titan's turntable, and how could it not, right? Like, there's only so much you can overcome through will. So we'll see. Martin says, let me click that one. With JF's hamstring in upcoming events, let's hope for top 5. That would be a great feat. I agree. Let's root for Max on the podium. I would agree with that. Yeah. Big Laws and Liz actually did not have JF on the top 5, and I gave him a little guff yesterday, like he does with me. We kind of have a friendly banter, he and I. But yeah, so interesting. But with the hamstring, yeah, it is going to be tough for him to make top 5. I hope he does make it. All right. Do you think Luke Stoltman or Bobby Thompson will win the max log? I think Luke Stoltman will win it, and Bobby will have the next highest weight pressed. That's what I said in my predictions there. Bobby has been incredible lately, set the American log press record. I think Luke has just a little bit more longevity at the top there. So who knows? Doing it, performing at it at World's Strongest Man before kind of counts for something, having that experience. So I think Luke's going to get it, and Bobby's going to be right behind him. And then others are going to have trouble getting close to that. Proper Rogue says, if Tom has it in his mind that he is unbeatable, he will be. I agree. I think others have said, and I have no expertise in autism or anything like that, so I won't speak to that. But some folks have said, if he's not focused, he can be up and down, and if he's focused, he can be unbeatable. So I think a lot of people would agree. People much more educated than I would agree with your position there. Juan says, Tom, Maxime, and Brian all set new records with 7.5, but Brian's 7.75 is the current world record. Wow. So Juan, you got to tell me, are you there? Because that's awesome. You must be, that must be a sight to behold if you're seeing this in person. Patrick says, Max Log was the only thing Brian didn't showcase as training on YouTube. Okay. True. Yeah, he was doing log, but not for Max. True. Costin Sutton, my buddy, events too light or too many athletes with similar strength levels? I tend to think it's more the latter. I kind of feel like this year is more competitive than some other, not every other year, but than some other years. And I'll actually probably put a stream together for, I don't know, maybe tomorrow or maybe Monday, comparing this set of athletes to previous years. Actually, even maybe do a little bit of analysis and statistics on how many of these guys were in the finals last year and maybe the year before, and kind of do some analysis on who's more successful over time. I think that would be a good one to do. Let's see, on YouTube, plot twist, he's going for the world record. Oh boy. Martin says, let's give a 5 on Tom at the deadlift and log and a 10 at the stones. He wins by quite a margin. I don't think Shock and Cat. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, Tom would really have to, I don't want to say the phrase I was about to say, defecate the bed is in nicer words. They say in the US. I don't know if they say this in any other country, but Tom would really have to do poorly, let's say, probably in both of those for Brian to pass him, just because they're so close on stones. Like, there aren't events left where Brian has a distinct advantage over Tom. XOL says, Brian's deadlift is kind of a mystery at the moment. He has been very quiet about his progress since last World's Strongest Man. Yeah, I mean, to be fair to Brian, there are several athletes who do that. JF doesn't share anything. Like, I interviewed him and he told me, I purposely am not going to share anything. I like to come in under the radar, train in silence, and show up and surprise people. And I mentioned this on previous streams as well. Dorian Yates used to do that in bodybuilding. He would train in silence, show up, and then people would be shocked at the package that he brought. And he would, not that his package wasn't better, but part of it was intimidation as well, for sure. And so JF does that. Chris Van der Linde didn't show much at all. And also, when I interviewed him, told me he was purposely not sharing. So, yeah, Brian shares more than JF, for example. So, yeah, he doesn't say what all the weights are. He made it a little bit harder to predict. But, yeah, there's nothing against that, right? Like, I don't know. We don't necessarily have to see everything that they're doing. It's a strategy that I think is a good strategy sometimes. Let's see. Single One says, I don't think Brian can catch Tom at this point. I don't either. 5.5 points is a lot to make up. It really is. And again, there's only 3 events left. So again, Tom would have to forget how to log lift and deadlift, and Brian would have to win those or something, because Tom's not going to do poorly on an Atlas Stone run. I just don't see that happening. Mike Hinney says, barring injury, Tom wins. Brian is likely second, but who will be third? That's a good question, Mike. Who do you think it is? I see your comment below. It's kind of wide open. I agree. Who do you think will do it? So Maxime's in that position now. I don't know if he'll be able to hold that. Let's see. What do we have coming up? Max log lifts. He's a good presser, but won't win that event. Deadlift is not so great for Max. So when Max and I talked, he was telling me, like, yeah, I'm a good deadlifter for like normal people, but not for World's Strongest Man level. Like, he's in the 800s, but he's not like a world beater deadlifter. And stones are very good for him. So I don't know, kind of, if you average those 3 things out, if he'll stay in third. He might stay close to it. I don't know if he'll stay in third. Constantine Janasha is the next one, and then Luke. So I would say those are the guys at play for third place, Max, Constantine, and Luke. Luke's got the max log lift coming, which I think he'll win. But Mike, let me know what you think. Definitely want to learn from your opinions as well. OSI, any mistakes can happen. That's true. Tom could drop an Atlas Stone and lose a few seconds. They could. I don't see it happening, but of course, mistakes can happen for sure. Didn't Tom actually have last year in World's Strongest Man in the Giants medley? He like bobbled the anvil or something like that, which cost him a little bit of time. So for sure, like, mistakes can happen that are not indicative of an athlete's true ability sometimes. Joe B. Gallagher says, Luke will win the log and is excellent on the stones. I think he squeaks into third. That's not out of the realm of possibility. That's a legitimate, feasible situation. He is good on stones, And I agree that he's going to win the log. As mentioned, I think Bobby will take second there. Martin, I'm going to guess it's Martine, and your last name is a French last name, so I'm going to say Martine. So Martine says Max is very strong on log, poor on deadlift, excellent on stones, which is what I was saying exactly. I agree with you. XOL says, I think Luke will take third, very good log, good at stones, and decent deadlift. I think it would be awesome for me. Like, I root for both of those guys. It would be awesome for me to see Max or Luke in third, for sure. Given that with the injury, I think JF is out of the running now, unfortunately. I really wanted to see him win it this year. And then after the qualifiers, it didn't look like he could anymore. It was kind of obvious that it was between Tom and Brian. But I would have loved to see JF on the podium. I think it's not in the cards anymore now, especially now that he has an injury. So Max or Luke would be awesome to see. Let's see. Single One says, I wish Jerry could stop getting hurt. I bet Jerry wishes that too. You and he wish the same thing. Poor guy. He had multiple injuries this year. But you got to give him a lot of credit. He's got a lot of gumption, a lot of go forward, no quit nature to him. And that was evident to me from the Hummer Tire deadlift at the Shaw Classic last year, where he was trying to catch JF's record, and this record that JF set in that same competition. And he gave it all he could and just missed, and then tried it again, like after giving all he could. So Jerry's a no quit type of guy, and you got to give him credit for that, despite all the injuries. So yeah, I wish he could avoid some injuries next time around as well and get to see the best of him. He was fourth last year overall, so definitely can do some damage in the future. So Mike says Constantine and Luke will be super close, but I say Luke. Okay, cool. Legitimate pick there. Luke would be cool to see. Constantine, it's good to see that Constantine was able to bring the good Constantine and not kind of have that injury too much in his mind and really perform. So that's been great to see. Patrick, sorry, I skipped. I'll get back to you, Costin. Patrick says, I think Luke and Constantine will battle it out for third. If Constantine is really back in shape, then deadlift could be his event to even win or top three, and Luke will have log. Constantine is a great deadlifter, so there's no argument there. And Luke will have log. I think we're all saying Luke will have log. And let me ask this. Anybody in the comments think Bobby has log over Luke? That would be interesting to hear from the audience. Tom Doe 79 says, you can see Brian's keg toss video on Twitter. That's where I wasn't looking. Okay, cool. Well, actually, I came and jumped on here quickly, but it's interesting that things are getting shared. So I saw some stuff on YouTube. I won't say which channel. Maybe they had permission and it's all fine, but I don't want to get them in trouble if they weren't. I saw some clips I was watching this morning of not full events, but decently long clips this morning. So yeah, I'm not surprised that it's on Twitter. Austin Sutton says, independent strongman commentators such as yourself and others have more views than the world's strongest man behind the scenes videos. Really? Wow. Well, thank you all in the audience for that. And while we're at it, if you're here for the first time and you like what you see, hit that like and hit that subscribe button. It helps me out a ton. And that's all I'll say about that for now. But thanks, Costin. That's awesome. I didn't realize that. So I'm on here, so I haven't been able to check that out. Justin Wong says, thoughts on Shaw versus Tom for max log? I think Tom edges him out. Let me go look at what I said in my predictions, and I'll stick to it no matter how bad it is. So let's see. I had said Stoltman. I had said Tom over Brian. So I had said Luke, then Bobby, then Tom, and then I had Brian, Trey Mitchell, and Max tied for the next weight after that. That's what was in my prediction. So I'm not sharing it on the screen right now, but you'll see it if you go to my previous streams from the previous nights. You'll see it. So to answer your question, thoughts is my thought was Tom over Brian. That's why I'm saying, like, Tom would just have to have a really off log or a really off deadlift or both for Brian to catch him. It's a lot of points to make up. OSI says, hate that this isn't live. You and a lot of other people, buddy. I think many people have it. At the very least, like, let's be fair. And if you're going to give it to the US in a month, like in July sometime, whenever that is, do the same for every other country. Like, why? I get if they want to have a delay because they want to make a high quality TV production, that's cool. But if the TV production is going to be done in a month or a few weeks or whatever, what have you, for the US, then it should be ready for every market, right? So yeah. But I mean, in terms of live, I'm not a TV producer. I have no idea the amount of work that goes into it, and I don't want to talk to like, yeah, they should be able to do this. But from a fan, from like I'm speaking only of myself here, from an idiot fan's perspective who knows nothing about TV production, all I can say is the NFL broadcast live, the NBA broadcast live. And if we're even just talking about Strongman, Clash on the Coast that Anthony Furman just put on, broadcasted live stream for free. Like, yeah, you had to have the core sports package to see it, but there wasn't any extra fee there. So even in just the Strongman realm, it's being done. And they had a little bit of glitches with the audio at the beginning, but for the most part, Clash on the Coast was very smooth and awesome to watch. So I don't see why necessarily. I don't know how the money would work in terms of, hey, if you charge a few dollars for a live stream, is that so much less than you would get from commercials during a TV production on CBS or ESPN or what have you? So I don't know. Like the volume of folks that watch a live stream might make up for it. So they should probably consider it. Will they? Not anytime soon, I don't think. Constantine Sutton says, love that so many people get stoked about a spreadsheet every year. It's because it's the only way we can get it, unfortunately, buddy. It's the only way we can see it. But hey, you've seen a bunch of my spreadsheets, Costin, so like I love my spreadsheets. So I see stuff like this and I get happy. Juan says, last link got taken down, but World's Strongest Man released the footage of Brian winning the world record also on Twitter as well or Instagram. So I'll go check out World's Strongest Man's Instagram after this and check that out. Is Brian Shaw bigger than the sport of strongman? Oh, philosophy tonight. We got philosophers in the audience. Is Brian Shaw bigger than the sport of strongman? I don't know. Like, what do other folks think? Do you mean in terms of does he think he's bigger than strongman, or in terms of do casual fans know Brian Shaw but not know anything else about strongman? Like kind of, or some other position that I didn't mention. Let's clarify what you mean there. Because in terms of like the biggest names in strongman, Brian's one of them. Halfthor's one of them. Eddie Hall's one of them. And I would say to like the casual person who never watches strongman, they probably know those three names more than Oberst. Oberst is getting pretty popular, but I would say like I've run into people who know who Eddie Hall is who don't know who Robert Oberst is, for example. So, so Brian's big. Eddie Hall might be more famous. I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you think in terms of casual fans or people who don't even watch strongman at all. Who would they know from strongman? Krista says, plot twist, Big Z competes tomorrow and gets first place. On the log lift you talking about? That's funny. All right, then we have, let's see, TGHWADSVJN. Brian is still going to win. All right, do you want to elaborate on how you think he turns it around? And again, for me, it's not necessarily that Brian's doing anything poorly. It's that Tom's doing things exceptionally well and making it hard to have any points above him to gain, David Sial, Tysal. David says Janasha could pull away from Maxime and Luke on deadlift. Definitely from Maxime. Luke has a decent deadlift, but I would say Janasha's the best of those three. Now, how many reps more can he do is the question. Martine says, how is Constantine's log? Anybody in here know? I don't think I have any feedback on that because he did Siberian Power Show and Wuss, but I don't think they had log. Let me check Strongman Archives real quick and see if I can let you know there. And while I'm doing that, if folks in the comments know, definitely let us know. So Siberian Power Show had a medley of Hercules hold, bag over bar, power stairs. They did have a log. Okay, and Constantine tied for first on the log. I think 12.5, and Markov had 12.5. Yeah. He did. Oh, okay. There were 13 people. I thought there were 15. Constantine tied for first on the log at Siberian Power Show recently. And then if we check Bahrain, which Constantine didn't do well at. Let me see if they had a log. They had an axle deadlift, flag hoist, dumbbell press, loading, and Atlas stone, so no log. So the most recent evidence we have is that Constantine's a good log presser. But again, you know, he did very well at one of these shows and not so good at the other one, so it's difficult to tell. Juan Daniel says, all updates even before the spreadsheet is released by Gordon Dorff, who's at the event. Ah, that's very interesting. Didn't know that. David says, Trey is also good on deadlift and log. Agreed. If you watched the Shaw Classic last year, you saw, I mean, that was a Hummer tire deadlift that I think was 13-inch, not 9-inch, but Trey was very, very good at that. I think he did 1,080 pounds at the Shaw Classic at a 13-inch. So surprised me, actually. I didn't know. I mean, Trey was starting to make his name for himself at deadlift around a little before that time, but yeah, really stuck with everybody there. Christus says, hopefully Constantine will have a good log lift and then takes the deadlift. Hopefully so. Nicholas Studer says, Luke versus Bobby is a tough one to predict. Completely fresh. I believe Luke is the better log lifter. I believe so too, ever so slightly, but I believe so too. David says Trey is going to move up. Let's see. Trey. Let's bring that back up on the screen. Well, he's in 9th right now. I mean, he couldn't go much lower, right? So let's see. So Trey had 2 points on the Giants medley, 9 on the Titans turntable. Yeah, and then that, for me, very surprising, maybe to none of you, but to me, very surprising, only 1 point on the keg toss. Log lift is going to be decent for him. Deadlift's going to be very good for him, and stones are going to be very good for him. I agree. He's going to go up. Michael Karkari says, with the set of events to come, I'm going to pick 1 Tom, 2 Brian, 3 Luke, 4 Constantine, 5 Trey. Decent picks. Decent picks. It would be cool to see Luke at 3. It would be cool. He'll be 3 or 4, I think. But yeah, it would be cool to see Luke at 3. Single One says, I do believe this really helps Janasha's mindset. His current positioning, yeah. I mean, he did very well in the qualifiers, albeit in that group that had some withdrawals. But yeah, his positioning's very, very good. And I think you're talking about maybe getting his mind over matter of the injury, and I would agree with that. Although max log lift may kind of exercise that tricep, we'll see. Robert says Constantine will be top 2 at deadlift, and because of that, he is the only one that I see as a threat to Luke for 3rd place. Top 2 at deadlift. Okay, so let's see if we have any. Yeah, JF's not going to be at his best. You still have Adam as a threat, so I'm guessing that's who you're saying is number 1. So let me know in the comments. You're probably thinking Adam's 1, Constantine's 2, maybe Luke 3? Looking through the list. And Luke or Trey. Oh, wait, there's Bobby. I forgot about Bobby. So you think either Bobby or Adam will not out deadlift Constantine? Let me know which one, because I would say those are the other 2 best deadlifts. Sorry, Bobby, that I forgot about you. I didn't see you at the bottom of the list. Video of Brian doing the 7.75s on WSM Instagram. All right, we'll take a look after this. Pretty epic. Luke has lost some steam. You think so? Let's see. So he had 7 points on the Giants medley, 6 on the turntable, 4 on the keg. I mean, he had fewer points on the keg, but it may just not be his best event. I don't know. I think he's been pretty consistent throughout all the events, so we'll see how it goes. Will Tom beat Shaw on deadlift? I don't know. What do people in the comments think? Shaw's not the deadlifter he once was, but he's still a very, very good deadlifter, and so is Tom. I don't know. I can look at what I said would happen. Doesn't make it true, but I had said that on the deadlift, where did I have Brian? I had Tom higher than Brian on the deadlift. Yep. And we'll just have to stick with that, right? I'm not going to keep changing based on new information anymore at this point. Leading up to this, yes, but we're gonna stick with that. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Who cares? It's fun to guess and predict together. Single One says Uncle Laz and Aunt Liz is killing it. Got to see him on your channel, I think is what you're saying. They're absolutely the best channel in this space for sure. I look up to him. I go to Laz for advice quite a bit. He helps me out quite a bit. They're very, very generous with their time. And it goes without saying that they're killing it. Their content is incredible. And if you haven't subscribed to them, if you're one of those like strongman fans who for some reason has not subscribed to Big Lots Official, which is beyond me, definitely when we're done here, go over and subscribe or open up another window and go subscribe to them now. They really do deserve it. They're working super hard. Keep in mind, the time zone for them is very, very hard. Like we got on here at 9 p.m. my time, which is 10, 11, 12, like 2 a.m. for them. So they're up in the middle of the night reporting on this because Sacramento is so many hours behind them. It's like 8 hours behind them. So definitely, if you haven't given them a bunch of likes and a subscribe, for sure go do that. They're working very hard and deserve it for sure. Laz is my good buddy. Definitely want to make sure he and Liz get the credit they deserve. David says, strongman sport is 1 foot shorter than Brian. Oh boy. Bradley Vincent Barnett says, Eddie Hall. I think you're saying like who is the most famous strongman? Yeah, I don't have a strong argument against that. He's done quite a bit to bring notoriety to the sport even after retiring. People saying something about Tom hurting his elbow. Really? I didn't hear that. That could be a problem on a max log lift. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Hopefully not. You know, if I could imagine what Brian's thinking, he wants to beat the best of Tom and everybody else. He doesn't want to beat somebody who's injured, you know? So, and I think every strongman I've ever spoken to speaks that way. They want everybody at their best. And when they win or podium a particular contest, they want to beat guys at their best, not a lesser version of them. XOL said that would be Brian's chance. It would. But again, like I hope it's not true. I hope Tom is at the peak of his powers and they go at it both at their best. Jason Van Bemmel says Brian is going to have to surprise people with both his max log and his deadlift for reps. I actually think he'll win deadlift for reps because it's for reps. Really? So you think he's going to out-rep Adam Bishop? Adam Bishop is known for repping deadlift, even more so than for max deadlift. That's okay. Like, it would be something to see. I don't think it's going to go that way, but a reasonable opinion. All opinions are reasonable. Patrick says 2019 Europe's Strongest Man. He did a 202 kg log, so he could definitely be top 5, probably just with that. So I'm going to guess you're referring back to Constantine when we were looking up what he had done recently for log. So that's great information. Thank you for sharing that. The 202 kg would be 444 pounds, I believe, which is a pretty big log. Not a Luke type log, but a pretty big log. Nicholas DeVito says, good to see you giving constant updates. You the man. Thank you, the man, Nicholas. Thank you for the great compliments. I appreciate it. And I'm trying to get on here, and not everybody has access to the spreadsheets and whatnot. So I'm just trying to give the audience some information and keep them up to speed. And, I tried to do some stuff yesterday as well with some predictions just to give you some content to watch while you had nothing new coming in to kind of pique your interest. So doing my best to get you the updates as they come and keep everybody interested. David says an arm injury has mentally scarred Janasha on pressing. He was interviewed after the overhead medley, and I'm sorry, I can't remember if it was Martins who interviewed him or if it was somebody else. It might have been Andy Hall, but whoever the interviewer was said, like, I saw that you were hesitant on that dumbbell portion. So yeah, it might take some time to get over it until he really feels like this is healed and it's not going to cause me any trouble anymore. But hey, it's not really holding him back. He's in 4th place. He's doing really well, like no matter what that situation is. So when we talked about, are we going to get the good Janasha from Siberian Power Show or the not great Janasha from WUS Bahrain, it seems like we've gotten something closer to the good one, maybe not perfect, maybe a little bit more hesitancy, but it hasn't hindered him from doing exceptionally well. So I think I I'd have to go back and look, but before the World's Strongest Man started, where we got to see how people were performing in the medleys, I did a prediction video before that. And I think I had Constantine 2 overall at that point. So, well, guess I was kind of close. Martine says, Constantine needs a strong LOF. Log, I think, is what you meant. That's a typo, log. If it's an acronym, I'm horrible with acronyms. Sorry, we have them at work all the time, and I'm always horrible. But I think you mean log. A strong log in deadlift. He will lose points on stones. Fair enough. Jason Van Bemmel says, no one knows how good Brian has gotten on log. I think he'll shock some people. You're right. No one knows. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, he's not going to be bad at log. The problem is that he's got Bobby and Luke there, and you know, Luke is pretty high up here in the rankings. So Bobby, not so much right now. He's not a threat to take number 2 away from Brian, but Luke isn't that far away, and Tom is a good log lifter. So we'll see. Nico Zarb says Shaw is great for deadlift reps. Yeah, I agree. I agree. I don't think he's better than Adam Bishop, but I agree. Martine says Luke went 8th on deadlift at the Shaw Classic, but it was for max reps. Luke went 8th on deadlift. Okay. Proper Rogue. Brian's prime max log was what, 205? I don't know. If anybody in the audience knows, let me know. I do not know off the top of my head. I don't know if he's prime anymore, though. That's the thing. He is extremely motivated this year, I gotta say. But I don't know. Here's the question for the audience. What do folks think? If Brian can't win his 5th this time around, which it's really seeming like out of reach, does he have any other shot, or was this the year? I personally feel like he looked more motivated, more competent isn't the right word. That's really doing him a disservice. More excellent than in recent years. He looked better at the events than he has recently, and he looked more motivated, and he looked more focused. So I thought this was his best shot. And first of all, let's not take anything away from second place. Second place is incredible, but we're judging against his career where he has 4 wins. And that's why, it seems like the slightest bit disappointing if he doesn't get his 5th. But if he doesn't get his 5th, what do folks think? Is he ever going to get it? I'm thinking maybe no. Sort of like where I talked about Robert Oberst the other night. If he wasn't going to make it to the finals this year, where he's looked the best he's looked in a long time, will he ever make it? Probably no. So I think Brian might be a similar argument. XOL says Constantine won't be second in the deadlift. Bobby, Adam, Trey, Brian, and Tom even. This is why we come here, to get kind of back and forth, different perspectives on things, and try to figure it out together. 3V Images says Tom has stones and is great at keg toss. Good log lifter too. Tom has it in the bag if no injury. I agree, but someone was saying before maybe there's an elbow issue. Again, I hope that's not the case. I hope Tom and Brian and everybody else are at the peak of their powers, and knowing that JF is not now. But I want to see guys go at it when they're at their best, and they do too. I've talked to enough of them to know they do too. And a Google gem. Tough for Brian to claw back with the events ahead, with Tom possibly not losing many points. Agreed. You have, forget about max log and deadlift. You have Atlas stones where Tom is the best in the world. Brian was at one point. Tom is now. Even if Tom only beats him by a point on stones, he's still pulling away more. I don't see Brian beating Tom at stones by 4 points or whatever. In addition to beating him on the other ones by a point or 2. Jason Van Bemmel says deadlift for reps. No one can beat Shaw. Okay, so we have some back and forth between or among some of our audience members here. We'll have to see how that plays out. So I'm gonna say I feel like Adam will get more reps than Brian. Bobby is great for max. I don't know enough about how he is for reps to make a determination there, but I think Adam will do better than Brian. Brian may be way up there, but I think Adam will do better. Jason says if it was max deadlift, that would be different. Agreed. Max is JF and Bobby, but again, JF is hurt, so we'll see. Costin Sutton says, aren't the Stoltmans filming a documentary? Tom winning would be epic for that. I agree, and I think they are. I did hear that they are filming a documentary, and that would be epic. And throw in a little extra cheddar on there. Having Luke on the podium while Tom wins would be even more epic for that documentary. Justin Wong says, Shaw performed pretty well in the deadlift for reps at 2020 Arnold Santa Monica. If JF is hurt, I could see Shaw placing top 3 on the deadlift for reps. Yeah, top 3 with Adam number 1. Matthew Riddle says, so are we all in cahoots that Tom is winning? I don't think does cahoots mean agreement? We're not in some sort of collusion, but yeah, I don't think we're all in agreement. We have some couple of people in the audience who think Brian's still going to pull it out. So I don't think we're all, but I think most of us think it's Tom at this point. Single One says Tom will not beat Shaw on deadlift. Okay, but if he doesn't beat Shaw on deadlift, will he beat him? Will he do well enough on log and Atlas stones to at least maintain his lead or not give up his entire lead is the question. I think absolutely yes. Like, there's no way Brian can make up 5.5 points again, unless there's an injury or Tom drops the log. I don't know. Like it wouldn't be the first time something crazy happened at this year's World's Strongest Man. So never say never. I just think it's highly improbable at this point. And I really was watching those qualifiers. I was really getting geared up to watch Brian win his 5th. It was going to be pretty special, but hey, it may happen. You don't know. Shemian says the log lift at the Siberian show was for reps. This is max. Okay, good. Thank you for letting me know about that. I wasn't aware. So thank you for the apples to apples comparison comment. Bradley Vincent Barnett says Brian Shaw has to place higher than Tom Stoltman in all the remaining events. I agree, and I don't think he can. Even if he places higher than him in log and deadlift, he won't place higher than him in stones. I don't think anyway. I mean, again, Brian's like the second best stone lifter in the world right now. So could it go either way? Theoretically, yes, but I don't see it happening. And a Google gem says Bobby may knock around the podium guys with the log and deadlift. He's going to make up a lot of points there for sure. So I don't expect Bobby to stay number 10. He's definitely going to make up a lot of points there. He can't make podium, but he can move it around. That's true. Crazy since he wouldn't have been there if Luke would have held the pickaxe up a little longer. I heard Big Loz talking about this, where he felt like Luke maybe didn't do the math correctly on what was needed on the pickaxe hold to actually get the positioning. Like he did just enough to beat who he was up head-to-head against, I think. I forgot who it was. And that wasn't necessarily enough to get him the placing he would have wanted. So I think he maybe didn't do the math correctly there, or at least that's what Loz was saying. All right. Robert Vidrew says, I think he will be in front of Bobby and fight Adam for the win. You think Brian will be in front of Bobby on the deadlift? Is that what you're saying? I don't see Bobby giving us a good performance from now on, being down from a mental point after doing so poor in the first 3 events. I don't know about that. I mean, there's something to be said for mentality for sure, but I think Bobby always knew that log and deadlift were his events, and I don't think he's going to go, dog those on purpose because he's down low. I think Bobby's the type of guy that'll really give his all and try to get up there. Like not going all out is something you do in the qualifiers when you have it locked up already, but at this point, like, why not? Bobby's also a guy who doesn't compete once a year at World's Strongest Man. Like Bobby was at Mammoth Strength Challenge in Kentucky. Bobby has other competitions that he does as well. So I don't know if he's going to do ASM this year, America's Strongest Man. He might. So you might have a point in terms of saving himself for upcoming things. It's not like he'll be in a 1-year off season. Colorado Awesome Sauce, thanks for coming back, buddy. Big Spicy Tom is killing it on day 1. He absolutely is. And again, like I said before, I think he's put it out of reach. Like I don't see a way Brian fights back into it, but no shame in being on the podium. What are your max lifts? I don't compete, buddy. I work out in my garage, and I don't have any max lift that would impress you in any way whatsoever. I like doing a mock type of circus dumbbell. I'll get a real one of these days, but I use a regular dumbbell with a fat grip. and not impressive at all. Like I've been working it up. I think my max is like 90 pounds or something on a circus. So I've had some athletes on here. So I don't kind of consider like, oh, I can't circus dumbbell 200 pounds, so I suck. Like I don't look at it that way. I look at it as like I started off at a really low weight. I had some pro athletes on here like Leifa Ingalls and Anthony San Lorenzo, who's a middleweight pro, and pick their brains to get kind of tips to get better, and slowly and surely getting better and better. So that's my thing. I set small goals, try to beat them, and then tomorrow try to set a different goal. But yeah, I don't have any sort of maxes that would impress you in any way whatsoever. My deadlift is like 3 plates. So there you go. I'm scared Maxime will fall back due to the deadlift. The deadlift will affect him for sure. I mean, he would say so too. He's not going to say he's the type of deadlifter that Adam Bishop is or Bobby Thompson is. He would tell you that himself. And again, I root big time for Max. Max is great in some events. Deadlift isn't one of them. If Tom doesn't win, it could seriously mess his head up. Maybe. I'm not inside his head, so I don't know. But I don't know. Number 2 last year, number 1 this year. That's a heck of a couple of years to put on your resume. Bob Seaver, I can't read the spreadsheet. What is Tom and Brian's end of day point total? Let me try to get my face off the screen to try to make it a little bigger, and then I will read it out to you as well. Okay, so that's as big as I can make it. Tom's total for the end of the day is 28.5 points, and Brian's total is 23 points. So they are 5.5 points apart currently. If you want to know a few more, Maxime is at 18.5, which is half a point above Constantine Janasha at 18, and rounding out the top 5, Luke Stoltman's at 17. So hopefully that helps. Spreadsheet's way more important than my face, so take it away for you. Do you like Brian? I think that has nothing to do with any, of course. I've never spoken to him. I have no reason to dislike him. Yeah, I'm a fan for sure. I'm a fan of every strongman. So it's funny because sometimes like you see people posting negative things to strongmen and strong women's accounts and stuff like that. And having spoken to a lot of them, they're the nicest people that you would ever meet. Almost all of them are. And so like I kind of feel bad sometimes, like, oh, Brian is this or JF is that, or Graham Hicks got some hate for pulling out. Like, and I've never spoken with Brian or Graham, but I've spoken with, for example, Travis Ortmeyer, JF Karon, Maxime, Athor, people like that. And they're the nicest people in the world. And like, I feel bad. Like, these people are attacking him. Like, if they only knew how nice they were, like from a fan's perspective, like if you haven't had direct, Big Loz is like the nicest guy in the world, but he looks that way on his YouTube. Like, that's not a surprise. But yeah, like if you only knew how nice these guys were sometimes, like I would never say I dislike Brian. I have no basis for that. Absolutely, I like him. I wish he would win his 5th. That would be fantastic. But yeah, I like all of these people and people at different levels who aren't at Worlds and all that stuff. Like I've interviewed folks who are just starting out all the way up to, I've interviewed 5 World's Strongest Man competitors. So, and everything in between, men, women, and everything in between. And they're all the nicest people. Donna Moore was the nicest person in the world. She may be the strongest woman of all time. And like, was just like a kind-hearted, regular person when I talked to her. So really, really, really awesome. Jason says, I think Brian will finish 2nd place behind Tom, and I think this is his last best shot for number 5. Unfortunately, I think it's the same. I don't know if he thinks that. Like, he may come back next year even more focused and better than ever. Who knows? And I hope he does. Like I said, I would love it if there were no question about, and for many people, there is no question that Brian's already better than Marius. For me, there's no question. But if the numbers matched up, it would be easier to make the argument that Brian's better. So Tom just looks so good, but I'm pulling for Brian. Yeah. If I had to pick one of those two guys who I'm a bigger fan, I'm a bigger fan of Brian than Tom, for sure. I don't know why. Like, I don't dislike Tom. I'm a fan of Tom. I'm more of a fan of Luke for some reason. I like his personality better, I guess. I don't know. Patrick says, I think Brian is going to find it extremely hard to win anymore, but he still has probably a few podium finishes in him for any show. I would agree with that. For sure, I would agree with that. It just comes down to, is that what he wants to pursue? And I would be totally behind him if he does. Absolutely. Brian's max log is 211 kg. Thank you, Single One, for getting us that response. I know some folks in the audience were looking for that, so thank you. David says, Brian improved over 2020. Why retire when moving up? Agreed. He was 5th last year. And, well, we don't know yet if he's going to stay at number 2. But if he does, then yes, that's a significant improvement. So I would agree with you. No, does anybody think he should retire? Like, are people saying that? I don't think there's, for me, in my opinion, there's no way he should retire. But it's up to him, right? Brian can come back and podium again next year. Maybe Tom doesn't participate next year for some reason or whatever. Anything can happen, but I don't think Brian should retire unless he decides that he wants to pursue other things. It's totally up to him. When does it air on TV? So I heard it's early July in the United States and then still Christmas. I think I heard December 26th, which is even more. It's like not even for Christmas Day, like the day after in the UK. And I don't know what it is for other countries other than those. And again, like I've kept saying, I live in the US and I think it's unfair that we get it in July and the UK gets it in December. Just totally unfair. Cutter Thompson, welcome, buddy. Brian does have the rogue log at home, so right now he just needs to edge out Tom and hope Tom ties with another competitor, maybe Trey. Okay, all right. But then we have the deadlift and then we have the stones, so we'll see. Constantine Sutton says, I want to say that Brian will retire if he wins or loses, but at the same time he's improving, so it might be possible that he competes next year. Okay. Fair enough. Alex Viado says, what time are the events tomorrow? Okay, so the spreadsheet actually tells you on the bottom. I know it's a little small, so I'll read it for you. And so the events tomorrow, we have 8 o'clock local time for max log lift. So that would be Pacific time in Sacramento. So I'm on the East Coast. For anybody on the East Coast, that would be 11 a.m. And then deadlift is listed for 11 a.m. Pacific time. And then Atlas Stones is listed for 2:18 Pacific time. And I would say so far, from what I've noticed, they've stuck fairly close to that schedule. Like there hasn't been a night where it was supposed to end at, 7 Pacific and didn't end for an hour or two later. I haven't seen that happen. So they've been pretty close to that. But those are the times that are listed. Martine says, Bobby had 9 reps in the heats, best of all groups with Adam Bishop. That's a good point. I forgot about that. That's a good point. David says, Janasha and Karon won world deadlift when it was for reps. Okay. Yeah. I feel so bad. I wanted Karon to win. And then barring him, I want probably Brian or Luke to win, I would say, or Maxime, but I never thought Maxime had a shot at winning the whole thing. So Proper Rogue says, Brian's best chance may have been this year. There was the reign of Marius. There was the reign of Z. There was the reign of Shaw. Thor had his chance to reign. Now we're entering the reign of Tom. That all makes perfect sense to me. Shaw and Z, greatest rivalry of all time. Can we all agree on that? Mike Hinney says, Tom, Brian, Luke, Constantine, Max. That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. Nobody here feels Adam has enough of a shot to win enough points on deadlift to make a run. It's too far out of it. I would say so. With only 13 points, I would say so. But if anyone in the audience has a different point of view, let me know. Proper Rogue says Shaw's deadlift hasn't been the same since his 2019 Arnold's hamstring. Maybe a 950 now. Yeah, which is nothing to sneeze at, but yes. And again, it's for reps, so a little different than what his max is, but a decent point. Broncoped 1. What's up, buddy? Brian had to win today with a decent lead to beat Tom. Only way he wins, I think, is what you meant to write. Only way he wins is if Tom gets injured. Yeah. Which, again, like we heard somebody in the audience said he heard something about an elbow injury with Tom. I hope that's not the case. They should both be at their best. Brian will get it. He's a beast. Okay. It's good to root for him. I mean, there's always a shot, right? I'm just kind of playing the probability, but there's always a shot. When do they play it on TV? We just mentioned that. So that's early July in the US and Christmas time, I believe December 26th in the UK. How he is 5.5 points behind with events. He is worse than Tom at. That's what I've been saying. Yeah, that's what I've been saying. So stones, Brian is brilliant at, but Tom is more brilliant at. And max log and deadlift, I think Tom is slightly better than Brian at both of those. So I'm with you, Bronco Pen. Mike Hippelhooser says, if Tom and Brian are tied going into the stones, do you think Brian's competitiveness can give him the win? No. I think Brian's competitiveness is a sight to behold. I think it's an incredible level of competitiveness. I think Tom's mobility and just how gifted he is at stones will overcome any level of competitiveness. I could be wrong. He could drop one. It's really hot out there. They might have tacky issues. Travis Ortmeyer had tacky issues at Siberian Power Show because it was so hot. So anything can happen. But, you know, in an ideal circumstance, which they're not competing in, I can repeat, no, I don't think anyone's level of competitiveness can overcome Tom's acumen and just how gifted he is with stones at this point. Kent Altina, what's up, Kent? Brian's best chance is for there to be a log jam of athletes in both log and deadlift that Tom falls into. That's interesting take. And Brian just beats, which also depends on large jumps and log weights. That's an interesting take. Hey, Kathleen, thanks for coming back. Keg toss results. Keg toss results are Brian Shaw wins the keg toss, and as my audience has just informed me, set a new world record with that at 7.75 meters. And they were mentioning that the guys who hit 7.5 meters, which were Tom Stoltman and Maxime Boudreau, actually set the record, and then Brian beat the record that was just set. So Brian Shaw, 10 points. Tom Stoltman and Maxime Boudreau tie for 8.5, right below him. 7 points to Constantine Janasha. Then a whole bunch of guys at 4 points tied for the next height after that, which was 6 3/4 meters. That's Luke Stoltman, JF Karon, Adam Bishop, Aethor Ingolson Melstead, and Bobby Thompson. And then Trey Mitchell had 1 point on the keg toss, which was the big shocker for me. I thought Trey was an incredible keg tosser, so I don't know what happened there. So those are your keg toss results, Kathleen. It's not out of reach. It's not out of reach. It's just unlikely. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. The pickaxe hold is ridiculous in the World's Strongest Man event. Brian kind of said so much before World's Strongest Man ever started, and he ended up doing decent at it. But yeah, it's more of an endurance event really than a test of strength. So I would agree with you there. Turkey Jerky. I think it's going to be Tom, Brian, and Luke. That would be cool. That would be really cool. Dilemma, just like Brian isn't going to beat Tom at keg toss. No, I never said that. I don't know if somebody in the audience said that. I always said Brian was going to win keg toss and Tom would be second. Max was the surprise for me. Yeah, I have said since the beginning it could be the one freaking thing I got right was that Brian would never lose a max keg toss. Let's see. Little back and forth in the audience about who's beating whom. Let's see. First two events were about speed. Brian slow. Okay. Tom is going to ruin folks in stones. Okay. Then we have a little bit of back and forth. Tom needs to be Brian at log. Yep, he will do that. Okay, dilemma. People think Tom winning stones one time when Brian has been the best most of his career makes Tom so much better. I just think he's better right now. That's all. And I think Brian's the second best in the world. It's no slight. It's no slight on him. But could go either way. I really think Tom is going to beat him. I think Tom has the heaviest stone ever lifted, does he not? Maybe I'm wrong there, but I believe Tom has the record right now. So we'll see. Let's see. Tom will win the deadlift. Tom will win the deadlift. Really? I can't go along with you there, but all opinions are welcome here. This video needs more likes. Appreciate what you do, John. Thank you, Costin. Appreciate that. I can't see how many I have right now, but yeah, be great if you like what you see. Folks who are here for the first time, if you click that subscribe button and as a reward, maybe go watch some of the interviews I've done with some of these guys. I think you really enjoy them. But if you would subscribe, I would really appreciate that. Working really hard to bring you great updates. Do Scotland proud, Tom. Yes, do Scotland proud. Any of you ever been to Scotland? It's beautiful. Edinburgh is the best. We went to Glasgow, which was more kind of like a city that I didn't like as much, but Edinburgh is awesome. It's like you have the city and a castle like right on the hill in the middle of the city. It's just great. The people are so nice. Kathleen says, how did Tom place in the keg? I thought I mentioned that. Tom tied for second on the keg with Maxime, right under Brian, who won it. Tom's autistic personality. Okay. Yep. And then Kent coming through in the clutch, letting Kathleen know about Tom's placing there. Thank you, Kent. Tom is too young and he's having fun. Hey, I guess fun wins you championships because it really looks like that's what's going to happen. And he was second last year. So maybe some more of us should be having some more fun, me included. I don't know. I probably have good fun at my day job, I think. Yeah, I think I do. Mr. Jack's Barbecue, I think that no matter what happens, Brian will still go down as arguably top 3 best strongman of all time. If you haven't heard me say it before, I believe he is number 2 right now. I don't think anyone can surpass him for number 2. And in turn, I don't think he can surpass Big Z for number 1, no matter what he does. But yeah, top 3 of all time is without question. Without question. So anybody who has Z and Brian, who's your number 3? That's a good question. And we'll probably be wrapping this up in the next 10 minutes or so. But yeah, that's a good question. Kaz, I think it is for me. Z, Brian, Kaz, and Kaz equilibrating him for today's training methods and eating habits and all that stuff. I would say Z, Brian, and then Kaz. I've mentioned this one on previous streams before, but I think Laz said like one way to determine who the greatest is like who would you pick to pick a car off of you if you were stuck under it. And like we're saying, he's not the best deadlifter in the world, but I would pick Brian. Like Brian comes immediately to mind. Like he just seems like a big, giant, strong guy. He's ripped car doors off of cars to save people before. Like if that's the way you judge it, it's Brian all the way. Kathleen, between Brian and him. I think if you're still talking about keg toss, Brian won the keg toss, Kathleen, with 10 points, and then Tom Stoltman and Maxime Boudreau tied for the second highest height. Single One says, as long as Brian is having fun, he will be back next year. That's probably right. He has a lot on his plate with his businesses and whatnot, but he has a lot on his plate right now and still competed. So I would say, yeah, as long as he's having fun, he still will. Avoids any injuries and things like that, major injuries. Proper Rogue. Oh, sorry, Brock. Was that July 3rd being for televised in the US? Okay, I heard early July, so thanks for that. Proper Rogue. Can't remember the year, but I believe Shaw had an Arnold's almost in the bag. Then a few guys came and beat him on the frame carry, and Big Z squeezed out a victory on the last event. Interesting. Martins talks about having that situation with Maxime Boudreau, where he said like Maxime was just killing it on everything, and Martins had to come back at the end. I think Stones was one of them to just eke out a victory. Let's see. Dilemma says, Tom couldn't beat Mark Felix in deadlift, bro. You tell him he's going to beat Brian. All right, we'll keep the arguments to the off the screen here. But yeah, it's all legitimate opinions. Could go either way. I think Tom's going to edge Brian, but all reasonable things. Bradley Vincent says, I think Luke Stoltman will get 18 points from the remaining events. Will that be enough for a podium place? So Luke's got 17 now, so 18 would put him at 35. Tom is going to get 10 for Atlas Stones, which would put him at 38.5. Okay, so we don't even have to count any other 2 events, so that doesn't get him past Tom. Brian will get 9 on Stones, which will put him at 32. I don't know. I think Luke can make the podium. Constantine's tough at deadlift, though, but that max log may give him some trouble, so I think he can make it. All right, let's see. Tom will win the deadlift. You heard it here first. Cool. If he does, I'll give you all the props, buddy. I'll give you all the props. I don't think it'll happen, but hey, you're entitled to your opinion, and maybe you know something I don't know. It wouldn't be the first time. People know all kinds of things I don't know, like all the time, every day. Adam has a log weakness. Okay. Thank you, David. Then we have BL Parak says, I agree with most things said, but I don't think Tom can beat Brian in the deadlift. I think it's close. I think he will, but I think it's close. So interesting. Interesting. Still have tons of comments coming in here. I really got to wrap it up soon, everybody. But if you're here for the first time and you haven't subscribed yet, I would really appreciate it if you hit that button for me and go watch some of the interviews I've done with some of these athletes. And let's see, Tom's really improved his deadlift. I agree, he definitely has. I don't think he's, an Adam Bishop beater, but maybe he is. Like I said, maybe he is. Did Brian break the record on his first keg or second? I don't know. Some folks here saw footage that I haven't seen, so I don't know. Because I know that they do get 2 attempts at it if they miss the first one, right? So I would imagine, yeah, I don't know. Not sure about that. But from what the folks here in this great audience were saying, Tom and Maxime broke the record first at 7.5 meters, and then Brian rebroke it at 7 3/4 meters. Kathleen says, barring a catastrophe, looks like Tom wins his first World's Strongest Man. That's my position. I believe that to be true, but we'll see what happens. Mr. Jimbo, I think you're here for the first time. Welcome. Thank you so much for coming. Tom Stoltman for the win. BT Gomes, how many events are left? 3 events. So you have max log lift tomorrow, deadlift, and Atlas stones tomorrow. So 3 events left. All done for the day today. Jason says, Tom's better at stones, not even a debate. Some folks are debating it. I also agree that Tom is slightly better at stones than Brian, and then even more better at stones than everybody else. But, folks are debating it. Tom does have the stone record. You were right. Thank you. Thank you for confirming that. Like I said, it doesn't mean that something can't go wrong with the tacky, or he drops one, or Brian has an especially big motivation, or any of those things can happen. I'm just saying what I think the probability says. Brock Grimes, hell no, Karon is going to get the deadlift. So I don't know if you heard about his injury, and you're saying he's still going to get it with the injury. I really wish he would. Like, I love JF and wish he would podium, but I think he's got a hamstring injury that's going to cause a problem there. You may not have heard about that. Patrick says, Tom has the world record in single stone over bar and the stone run. I think Brian can make him work hard for the win, but Tom will win the stones. That's a pretty reasonable way to put it. I would probably put it the same way. BT Gomes says, I hope Brian will win. He's got a lot of people rooting for him, for sure. A lot of people rooting for him. Yusuf says, what are the remaining events? They are max log lift, deadlift, the knack deadlift, and Atlas stones. And we've heard, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, that the knack deadlift is a traditional 9-inch. So I had heard they were putting toolboxes on the ends for the knack sponsor, which maybe they still are, but maybe they're making up the height with platforms or whatnot to still keep it at 9-inch. Sean says, what is the weight on deadlift for reps? I think it actually says it here, 350 kilos. Yep. So I realize the spreadsheet's a little small. Let me see if I can make it bigger, actually. Can I do that? It's a Google Docs, so I don't see a way to make it bigger, but it's 350 kilos. Proper Rogue says, Tom is only half an attempt away from loading 2 stones at a time. He would have baffled Prime Thorin stones. Interesting. Bronco Ped, Kaz for number 3. I'm with you. I can't think of anybody I'd put above him. John Paul was amazing, but I always, in my mind, have had Kaz at a little slightly higher level than him. Brock says Magnus. I'm guessing you mean Vera Magnuson. I only say that because I'm a huge fan of Magnus Samuelsson. Donna, welcome, Donna. So Marius number 3, that's a legitimate, I would probably have him 4 or 5, but that's a legitimate and totally feasible place to put him given the 5 championships. I wish, we didn't have the IFSA split, so we would have more, a better idea of how he would have done against the other competitors. People say it was a weak era because of that split, but you don't know because they weren't there. Maybe he would have beaten some of those guys. Maybe not, but maybe so. So you don't know. Bronco Ped has Marius at 4, so very close to you, Donna, just one place below. Magnus for Magnuson or John Paul for 5. All legitimate. All legitimate. BT Gomes says Thor or Eddie would be number 3 on my list. Interesting. I don't know if... So if we're talking the strongest man of all time, yes. If we're talking about the greatest strongman of all time or most accomplished, I don't think so, because they each only have 1, right? And you can't really say somebody with 1 win is more accomplished than somebody like Magnus for Magnuson with 4 wins. Maybe you can. I wouldn't. I wouldn't put them above him. But if you're saying who's the strongest of all time, those 2 are definitely up there. Let's see. Kaz is the only one not allowed to compete in World's Strongest Man because he was too much stronger than everyone else. That's true. That's true, Ken. That's the one I always wonder about the most. Like, how many would Kaz have had? So how many years did he miss? I don't remember. And he has 3 as it is. So should he be a 6-time winner? Or is it even more than that? I forget how many years he missed. Let's see. Do you think Maxime can hold on to a podium spot? He should do well in log and stones, but lose points in deadlift. He will do well in log and stones, in my opinion, and he will lose points in deadlift, in my opinion. Can he hold on to a podium spot? I don't think so. I think he'll be right outside of it. So he's in 3 now. I think Luke's going to move up. It's probably going to be number 3 will be Luke or Constantine. Number 4 will be the other one of Luke or Constantine, and Maxime will probably be 5, is my guess. I hope that he podiums. I just don't think so. Yeah, I've interviewed Maxime, and he and I got along very well. He's a super nice guy and has been working very, very hard since last year. I root hard for him. I hope he makes it, but again, that's what I think will happen. Glenn, welcome, Glenn. WSM as a whole is going down, in my opinion. Every year they keep lowering the weights and doing a lot more speed stuff next to no actual static strength events. Even setup looks closer to a lightweight comp. That's interesting. I mean, they have max log, but they did change. I think they changed. Maybe I'm wrong about this, but I thought NAC was originally max and they changed it to reps. It's a fair point. It's a fair point. Powerlifter Bear says, I miss Kaz at WSM this year. Hold on. Sorry, I'm going to get you up on the screen. Just had some notifications pop up. Great personality. He has the personality of all time, does he not? Thor had a shot at being 3rd greatest and then got into a pissing contest with Colin and Eddie. Yeah. It's funny, like that whole World's Strongest Man fiasco between Thor and Eddie. Most people took sides. I took Team Eddie, so I looked at the evidence. I said Thor is complaining about nothing. Like he should have had more reps discounted and all this and that. But time passes, and you start like. With this whole boxing thing, I'm watching Thor really put his all into it and learn a new craft. And then I talked to Steve Schmidt, who is one of the best overhead pressers in the world. And he talked to me about a few years ago it wasn't necessarily a contest. It was like a record breaker type of thing where he and Thor were going for the overhead block press record to see who can get it. And he told me Thor's the nicest guy in the world. We sat down. We had a great conversation together. Granted, I think it was a year before that World's Strongest Man fiasco, 2017. But you start to get different perspectives and think like, yeah, like I still want Eddie to win the boxing match, but I don't like dislike Thor anymore. Or, we can kind of, things happen. We all make mistakes and move on. And, he's fine as far as I'm concerned. Joe609 says, Brian is the GOAT. Welcome, Joe. Thanks for dropping by. Please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. I really appreciate you dropping by and giving your insight here. He's much older and still in the running. Fair point. Fair point. I just think that Big Z has won too many things, like not only World's Strongest Man, but Arnold's and a variety of other things. And even with a late start in his career, he just really racked up a lot toward the end. It's difficult to say that anybody else, is number one all time, but it would be Brian if anybody. Brian might slip out of the top three. Maxime and Constantine Janasha, George and Bull, 2 and 3. Interesting picks. Could happen. Anything could happen. Glenn says it's going to turn into a CrossFit in a couple of years. I hope not. Really hope not. Sean Simpkins says, what is the weight on the deadlift for reps? Yep, I mentioned it before, but it's 350 kilos is what it looks like. Yep, 350. And Bronco Pet actually beat me to the answer. Thank you, Bronco Pet. When can we watch the final? In the US, I think you can watch the whole thing in the beginning of July. And in the UK, you can watch the whole thing December 26th is what I heard. Bradley Vincent, go Luke. Yep, I agree. Go Luke. BT Gomes says, is the log in deadlift for reps or max weight? The log is a max log and deadlift is for reps. Matthew Collins, welcome, buddy, says Brian wins his 5th. It would be great to see. It's looking less likely, but it would be great to see. Where does Brian finish in the log lift? I can tell you what I said a few days ago, and I won't flip-flop my position, but I said Brian was going to get 6 points in the log lift. So I said Luke would win it. I said Bobby Thompson would be 2nd. I said Tom Stoltman would be 3rd. And then I said Brian, Trey Mitchell, and Maxime would tie for the 4th heaviest weight. So that was my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. Bobby Thompson saving up for the log press and the deadlift, let's be honest. That guy's a monster deadlifter if you haven't seen him deadlift anytime recently. JF has a hamstring injury. Stop reminding me. I'm so sad. I'm so sad for him. Why is nobody talking about Luke's log? Who's not talking about Luke's log? He could pick up some points there, right? Yeah, that's obvious. Besides Bobby being like somewhat close, Luke has no threat at max log, right? Like I think everybody's talking about Luke's log. And yes, he'll pick up points there because, well, who's near the top? Yeah, Bobby is far below him. Max has a good log, but not in a Luke Stoltman type of caliber. So yeah, he could definitely pick up points. Glenn asks, anybody got any more info on Tom's possible elbow injury? I do not. I don't know if anybody else in the audience does. I'll probably going to wrap this up in a minute or so and go see if I can find some info there. Let's see. David, just subscribe. Thanks for the spreadsheet. And Luke is good on... Is that hex? Like for white or black color palette? That's the only thing I know that's 6 Fs. That's funny. I don't know. You're going to have to tell me what the Fs are. Strange Land says, age and ability to heal or rest between events can make a big difference between Brian and Tom. That's a good point as well. Brian has all his physio and all his setup in his room. He has the ideal set of circumstances. So, nothing to say there about prep. Like he's got his ideal set of circumstances for sure. Constantine Sutton says, I think it was 5 years that Kaz missed. Really? His Wikipedia page says he won Iceland's Strongest Man 1 year without even living there. Wow. That's crazy. I mean, that's not to say he would have won all 5, but imagine if there were an 8-time World's Strongest Man champion. Let's see. Donna says, go to World's Strongest Fan, shows cake toss. Okay, I'm not going to show anything that I'm not sure I'm allowed to show, but, that's up to you. Thoughts on log lift top 3? Luke Stoltman, Bobby Thompson, Tom Stoltman. Oh, Donna says, sorry, World's Strongest Man. Oh, so it's their official one that they're showing it. Okay, that's a different story. Yeah, and again, like they have like copyright protection on their Instagram, so I can't show it here. But yeah, feel free to go over there and take a look as soon as we're done here. Proper Rogue says Thor probably had the best one-time package of all time for Strongman. His 2018 year, he was unbeatable. Many people say that. Maybe not the greatest of all time, but his 2018 package will always be legendary. Totally agree. I think many people agree with that. Martine says Max tied Trey for Max Log. Don't count him out just yet. I'm not counting him out. No way. Max and I talk on Instagram, so I don't want to say anything bad about him. No, he's awesome and a great presser. Definitely a great presser. Let's see. What else do we have? Anything else? Kaz probably could have won Iceland's Strongest Man just off his reputation. That's funny. Thank you all for dropping by tonight. This has been an incredible discussion. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, please do so. I really do appreciate it. It helps me out quite a bit. Please like this stream. And when it's all said and done tomorrow night, I'll try to hop on tomorrow night if Father's Day festivities are done. If not, we'll see you sometime on Monday for a live stream. And thanks again for joining me and filling in all the little tidbits I didn't know with the elbow injury and whatnot. And we'll see you when it's all over. Go Tom, Brian, Maxime, Constantine, Luke, whichever one you're rooting for. And of course, until next time, as always, ciao, homie.